SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Tatis at third, 2 outs. Fernando takes off. He's going to steal home without a play.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, and our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Houston Astros in the final game of a 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Astros, left-hander Framber Valdez, and for the Padres, right-hander Dylan Cease. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 3:40 p.m. for the final and rubber match of this 3-game set. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. I go one-on-one with Xander Bogaerts. Plus, in just a few minutes, we check in with Bob Scanlon. But first, let's set the table. Brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Padres entered today 86-66. They begin the day sitting in the National League's first wildcard spot, 2.5 games ahead of the Arizona Diamondbacks and the New York Mets. Padres are also just 3.5 games back of the Dodgers for first place in the NL West. Meanwhile, the Astros entered today a record of 82-69. They have a 4-game lead on the Mariners for first place in the American League West. It was a wild, it was a wacky, and it was a highly entertaining baseball game here in San Diego last night.
Padres fair in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
The Padres were down 2-0 in the bottom of the 6th inning. Manny Machado had a big swing.
Fernando dancing at second. Here's the 3-2. Manny swings, sends it in the air, deep to left field. Hayward is back at the wall, looking up, gonna go! Game-tying 2-run homer for Manny Machado. And this place is going absolutely nuts.
Manny's 27th home run, RBIs 101 and 102. Michael King was great, 7 innings, 2 runs allowed. Jason Adam was on the mound in the top of the 8th inning. The game still tied at 2. It was Jason Adam against Alex Bregman with runners on first and third, 2 out, the count 3-2.
Tied at 2 against the Astros. Little taste of October here in mid-September. Payoff pitch to Bregman is on the way, and in the dirt, kicks away from Diaz, and Alvarez going to come in and score. He collides with Adam, who was covering the plate. It's a couple of big bodies coming together. And Houston goes in front, 3-2. It was ball 4 and a wild pitch.
That's all Houston scored in the bottom half of the inning. Fernando Tatis Jr. was on third base. It was Josh Hader against Jackson Merrill.
First pitch to Merrill. Taken in the dirt outside, and it goes to the backstop. Here comes Fernando, and the game is tied. Josh Hader's first pitch back at Petco is a wild pitch.
We were still tied at 3 going to the 10th inning. Kyle Tucker at the plate for Houston with a runner on third base.
Infield in with a runner on third, 1 out. Lefty. Kyle Tucker swings, muscles one into shallow left field. That'll dump down and a base hit. Kessinger trots home, and the Astros are back in front. It's 4-3 here in the 10th.
In the bottom half of the inning, the Padres had the bases loaded. 2 outs, Manny Machado at the dish.
1-2 to Manny. Neris, couple looks back at Lockridge. Now the pitch on the way. Machado swings, hits it hard up the middle. That can't stop. Kessinger flips to Pena in time at second, and the ball game is over. A rocket off the bat of Manny Machado, and Kessinger, who, by the way, is a much better defender than Altuve, with a great defensive play to end the game.
Final score yesterday in 10, Astros 4 and the Padres 3, and I just told you a little sliver about what happened in yesterday's game. If you want the full recap with all the wackiness, all the wildness, all the entertainment, go back to the Inside San Diego Baseball podcast with Sam Levitt on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcast. We did about an 11-minute recap of yesterday's game that explained everything. You got just what you needed to know there. It was one dandy of a ball game. Padres unfortunately couldn't win it as they fall 4-3. Let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Bob Scanlon in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Scan, after all the wildness and wackiness of last night, now we settle in today for a really good starting pitching matchup. Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres, Framber Valdez on the mound for the Houston Astros. And Scan, let's start with Framber Valdez. This is a left-hander that has just a great curveball. He's a guy who has really become one of the better starting pitchers in the game. He's done a lot of good things in the postseason as well. What can you tell us about Framber Valdez and what he's done so far this year?
Yeah, you're all over it, Sam. This guy's a competitor. He's been very tough. He gets a lot of ground balls. He's got the four-seam fastball, sinking fastball, curveball, slider, and he'll use them all. But the big thing is he wants to get ahead. If the Padres can either ambush some things early in the count, they might have a chance to get to him early. But if he falls behind in the count, then you're really in the driver's seat. So he's trying to get ahead of you, strike one. There's an opportunity to jump on him. But he's going to mix up his speeds. He's going to work back and forth. He's going to work quickly. And the guys, he's all about gamesmanship. So should be a good matchup. I'm looking forward to see him work today.
Yeah, it really should be. And on the other side of this pitching matchup, Scan right-hander Dylan Cease. He had a good start over the weekend in San Francisco. 6 scoreless innings. Felt like a good bounce back for Dylan. Had a 5.01 ERA in his previous 6 starts. What did you see from Cease in San Francisco, and what do you hope to see from him here today against obviously a very good Astro lineup?
It's funny, when Dylan gets on a roll, he'll be on a roll for 4 or 5 games, right? And that last outing, to your point, he looks sharp. And for me, the sharpness with him always starts with his fastball command, getting to the lane that he wants to. When he's doing that and he's putting the fastball glove side when he wants to, arm side when he needs to, that sets everything else up. The other thing we saw was some more breaking pitches in the last outing. In other words, it wasn't so much dominant fastball slider. We saw a few more sweepers. We saw a few more curveballs as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that again today. We'll wait and see. A lot of that, of course, depends on how you're feeling, what you got working on that given day, right? And also the lineup that you're facing. But it's always a great reminder. We get so infatuated with his fastball slider, understandably, but don't forget about that curveball, which is pretty nasty as well. But look, great outing in his last effort. Like I said, usually when he gets his rhythm going, it can last for 4, 5, 6 games, and hopefully that was the start of one of those streaks. If so, he could have a dominant outing once again today.
Yeah, you certainly hope so. Again, Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres. Framber Valdez on the mound for Houston today. Let's talk a little bit more about this Astros lineup. Padres won't see Kyle Tucker in the lineup today, so they do get a little break from, obviously, a terrific hitter in Tucker. But you look at the top 3 still. Scan, it's Altuve, Alvarez, Bregman. Then you have Diaz, who's turned himself into a really good hitter in the cleanup spot today. If you're a pitcher on the mound, you got to face that 1, 2, 3, really any part of the game. What would make dealing with that top of the lineup for Houston tough, and how would you go about navigating it?
Well, first of all, they're good fastball hitters, right? So, I mean, anytime you've got a guy that can get to the heater, they like fastballs in, so you don't want to make a mistake with that because that's the pitch that you have to really set up. And as we talked about with Dylan Cease, when he's going well, it's fastball command. So that doesn't mean that you can't throw fastballs. And I thought Darvish did a great job of sort of setting the tone for this series in that he was throwing some off-speed pitches early, but within the first 1 or 2 pitches of every plate appearance, there was going to be a fastball inside, located well. It wasn't just a token fastball inside that they could say, okay, I've seen it, I'm done with it, I can get back to leaning out over. It was fastballs in for strikes. And I thought that was a great tone that he set. We saw Michael King do the same thing yesterday, so no reason not to stick with that. Yes, they're a good fastball hitting team, but you have to show them that you will use it inside, especially early in the game, which will give you breathing room later in the game in those situations with runners on base, game on the line. I've already established I can go in. Now I don't have to go in. Gives yourself a little bit more breathing room away in those clutch situations. So I'm curious to see how Dylan goes about it today.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun to watch Dylan Cease. Really good pitching matchup here today. Rubber game of this 3-game set. Scan, as always, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up at 3:30 as the Padres go for a series win. Enjoy this one. Thanks so much.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sam.
All right, that's Bob Scanlon joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for a little late afternoon baseball on this Wednesday. Remember, the Padres have an off day tomorrow. They continue this homestand Friday, Saturday, and Sunday against the Chicago White Sox. Then it's an off day on Monday, 3 games in L.A., 3 games next weekend in Arizona, and that is it in the 2024 regular season. 10 games remaining beginning today, including today's game. Padres in a very good spot, 2.5 games up for that number 1 wild card spot that would allow them to host a wild card series. So they're in a good spot. They got to keep on playing well. We'll see if they can take this series from the Houston Astros in what has been a really nice series so far. A 3-1 win for the Padres on Monday. Really back and forth, entertaining game last night. What's in store here today? Well, we're going to find out in just a little bit. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, plus a little bit later, I go one-on-one with Padres shortstop Xander Bogaerts. We have our keys to the game and an even deeper breakdown of today's pitching matchup between Dylan Cease and Framber Valdez. Our pregame coverage continues when we return on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Your water perfected. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 3:40. It is busy here inside the loft right now. I'll tell you what, during a day game sometimes might be a little bit slower here inside the Western Metal Building. People just getting here. I'll tell you what, it is not that way here today. A lot of people here enjoying their beers, enjoying their mixed drinks, some food out there as well. It's also a giveaway today. See Fernando Tatis Jr. bobbleheads out there today as well. So a lot of people having fun. Should be a good day of baseball here at Petco Park as the Padres go for a series win against the Houston Astros. Again, I'll go one-on-one with Xander Bogaerts coming up a little bit later. We had a really good conversation inside the Padres clubhouse earlier today about his move back to shortstop, about Manny Machado, about his offense right now. So you'll hear that coming up a little bit later on. First, let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Before we hear from Mike, just a quick look at the Padres lineup here today. Jurickson Profar leading off for the Padres in left field. He's leading off. Fernando Tatis Jr., the DH, batting second. Manny Machado at third base, batting third. In the cleanup spot, Donovan Solano at first base, batting cleanup. Jackson Merrill in center field, batting fifth. Xander Bogaerts at shortstop, batting sixth. Jake Cronenworth at second base, batting seventh. Elias Diaz doing the catching, batting eighth. And Brandon Lockridge in right field, batting ninth. So you might notice there, Luis Arraez not in the lineup here today. Remember, Arraez did come out of the game after jamming his knee on Monday. He was back in the lineup yesterday, which was great to see. But again, Arraez not in the lineup here today. With all that in mind, let's hear from the Padre manager, Mike Shildt.
All right, we'll start off with Manny and at bat in the sixth inning. What did you see from him in regards to his ability to stay within himself?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. Any athlete, the ability to stay within themselves and then the ability to stay present in big moments allows you to get the most out of your ability. And, Manny clearly has a ton of ability and has the ability to understand what the situation calls for and to stay within himself when things can get a little, a lot of stimulation in them. Big moments and, full ballparks and controversial calls and a lot of different things. So, the subhuman part of this is, the ability is the ability, which is tremendous, but the mental acumen and the ability to stay present and regroup and to focus in the moment and perform is an exceptional talent.
How do you think that at-bat served as an example of his competitiveness?
Look, when you are in the league as long as he had and has done as well as he's had, just got his 100th RBI and 101 last night, but you're gonna be a competitor, and it's how you compete is, I think, the most important part of it, and the consistent competitors are the one that you win with and the ones that put up numbers like Manny does, and that's regardless of circumstance, they show up and they look to perform, and so that consistent hunger competitor and coupled with the approach and the talent is what allows you to put together Hall of Fame type numbers.
You mentioned the RBIs, and he's had 28 in the last 21 games. In this critical stretch, what has stood out to you about him as he leads this team towards the finish line? He's enjoying himself is one thing I'm seeing. He's comfortable in the moment. He enjoys the moments, and he's looking like he's just trying to do his part. Luis Arraez out of the lineup today, is that just to give him a day off, or why is that?
It's a combination of things. Still a little sore, so we'll take advantage of today, leading to the day off tomorrow. Also, we want to keep Toddy off his feet a little bit. He went pretty hard last night, so we had a scheduled DH day within this 3-game set, and so we didn't take advantage of it the first 2 games, and so it's kind of a perfect storm that allows Louis to get off his feet and Toddy to be able to get off his feet a little bit in DH.
And then with Ha-Seong Kim, I know that you said that he might be doing some more aggressive throwing today. Has he done that, and if so, how's he feeling?
I don't believe he's done it yet, and so I can't answer the question, and I'll have something more for you hopefully after the game.
I haven't seen Yuki in a while. Is that just a product of the situation, or is he doing all right?
It's completely situational based. Him, Wandy, Hoeing's been up quite a bit, but really, we trust Yuki completely, but we have guys in different roles, and we've been able to, be in a lot of close ball games when using our high leverage guys. So It's been more of a representation of using the guys that we've used consistently in those roles. But, today our bullpen will see how the guys feel, but it may present an opportunity for them today.
And the fact that your starters are going so deep.
Yeah, it's the other good point. I'm glad you brought up AJ. When guys are going deeper, you went 6. We had Michael go 7. When Joe went 6 the other day. When guys are going deeper, they're eating up innings that other guys usually pick up.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt before today's game. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game show coming up later on this evening. And we'll talk a little bit more about the starting pitching that Mike just talked about there and how good the starting pitching has been for the Padres as of late. First pitch coming up at 3:40 as the Padres take on the Houston Astros, final and rubber match of this 3-game series. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, let's begin with actually a guy that is not in the lineup today, but who knows? Maybe Luis Arraez comes off the bench at some point today. Had a 14-game hit streak snap last night. He hit .456 with a .507 on-base percentage during that hit streak. Arraez enters today leading the National League with a .320 batting average. He is, of course, looking to win a 3rd consecutive batting title with a 3rd different team. Jurickson Profar, still in the hot category, now has hits in 10 of his last 11 games. Profar is batting .357 in that span with 3 doubles and 2 home runs. Manny Machado in the hot category as well, batting .366 with 4 home runs and 16 RBIs in his last 10 games. Fernando Tatis Jr. also in the midst of a 7-game hitting streak. He had 2 hits last night, batting .379 with 4 home runs and 8 RBIs in that span. The not category, we take a look at Jake Cronenworth. Jake only has 2 hits in his last 24 at-bats. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 3:40. When we come back, we have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, plus I go one-on-one with Padres shortstop Xander Bogaerts. We'll tell you what to watch for coming up a little bit later as well, and a full breakdown of our starting pitching matchup between Dylan Cease and Framber Valdez. More pregame coverage coming up from Petco Park after this on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the lofts here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we walk you up towards first pitch coming up at 3:40 here in downtown San Diego. Should be a fun day of baseball. Great pitching matchup here today. Framber Valdez on the mound for Houston. Dylan Cease on the mound for San Diego. We'll have much more on that pitching matchup coming up a little bit later on. In this segment, we'll take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard in just a moment. We'll also have our keys to the game, and I go one-on-one with Xander Bogaerts in just a few minutes as well. We mentioned this earlier before Mike Shildt spoke, but let's talk about it again. Tell you about one guy that is out of the lineup for the Padres here today.
Who's in, who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit him up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Luis Arraez is out of the lineup today for the Padres. Remember, Luis came out of Monday's game after jamming his knee on a slide at home plate. He would actually stay in, have an at-bat, hit a double, but then he ultimately came out of the game. He would then be in the lineup yesterday. Great to see Arraez right back in there, but the Padres essentially taking advantage of having the off day tomorrow, giving him 2 days off. Now let's see if Arraez comes off the bench at all today, maybe in a pinch hit appearance. Certainly you could see the Padres doing that, but a good opportunity to give his left knee a couple of days here. Still a little bit sore, very understandable. So that's why Luis Arraez is not in the lineup here today. Again, should be interesting to see if he's available off the bench at all here today, but Arraez not in the lineup for the Padres here today. And that's a look at who's in and who's out as we get ready for first pitch beginning at 3:40. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, tell you what's going on this Wednesday across the big leagues.
Let's take a trip around the bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Wednesday. We have a couple of finals already today. Diamondbacks have already won today, so not great news for the Padres. Diamondbacks beat the Rockies in Colorado 9-4. A's beat the Cubs 5-3 in Chicago, so a couple of finals already today. One game going on right now. White Sox and the Angels in Anaheim in the 9th inning. They're tied at 1. Everything else coming up a little bit later on today. Giants and the Orioles getting underway shortly at 3:35 in Baltimore. Same with the Braves and the Reds in Cincinnati at 3:40. Dodgers and the Marlins in Miami at 3:40. Twins and the Guardians in Cleveland at 3:40. Red Sox and the Rays at 3:50 in Tampa Bay. Nationals and the Mets in New York at 4:10. Tigers and the Royals in Kansas City at 4:40. Phillies and the Brewers in Milwaukee at 4:40. Pirates in St. Louis against the Cardinals at 4:45. Rangers host the Blue Jays at 5:05 in Arlington. Yankees and the Mariners in Seattle at 6:40. And that is a quick and full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll have more on those games coming up during our post-game show. Well, earlier today I had a chance to go one-on-one with Xander Bogaerts. Really good conversation with the now Padres shortstop about his offense, about moving back to short, about Manny Machado. And remember, Xander is a player that has won 2 World Series. He has been on many teams that have been right in the thick of a pennant race, that have gone on to do major things in the month of October. So Xander, always a good guy to talk to when it comes to understanding what a team needs to do to cross the finish line in the regular season, get to October, and do something special. I caught up with Padres shortstop Xander Bogaerts earlier today. Let's talk about yesterday's game. It was a wild game, sort of a wacky game, some moments, some controversies. How do you assess what happened yesterday now that you had a night to sleep on it and you get ready for today's game?
I mean, tough way to lose, at the end right there. I mean, give the guy credit, made a really good play on that ball from Manny. 2 of the legs, great play. I mean, that game had pretty much everything in it, Manny coming up clutch with that homer to tie it. Merrill's ball, everyone thought that was, probably was going out, but really good game. Playoff atmosphere was really nice.
As far as Manny, I mean, he continues to have a lot of big swings, has the big 2-run home run yesterday. What's it been like for you as his teammate to watch what he's done the last few months, especially considering coming off the elbow surgery and, the way he's performed now for a while this season?
He's been locked in for a minute now, and it's very nice to see. That's something that he's very capable of from the day he pretty much stepped into the big leagues. So it's really nice to see. Obviously, when you have a couple other guys struggling, it's obviously nice to have someone put the team on the back for a little bit, and I feel like he's been doing that for a while now.
Xander, you make the move back to shortstop, and so far it looked really good, to me at least. You look really comfortable. The plays have been smooth. How do you feel back at short?
Just trying to make the plays, trying to make the plays. It's hit to me. It just feels different, it just feels a little more natural, and cut-offs and just in the position that I need to be, it just feels more natural, and I was getting comfortable at second also, but just going over there, I kind of felt maybe I would forget a couple stuff, but it's been pretty smooth with me knowing where I have to be, I'm not saying making the plays and stuff like that, but just knowing where I have to be and the timing of the run and know who's running and stuff like that. It's been very nice to know that I still have that.
So making the sort of instant reaction type of plays, sounds like maybe that's not the toughest part, but knowing where you have to be, relays, things like that, that's what takes getting used to?
That's the toughest part, because at second, I remember I would initially react as a shortstop, and a lot of times I wouldn't be in good positions or where I'm supposed to be, but I played at short for a long time, so I'm pretty used to that.
Xander Bogaerts joining us here on our Padres pregame show. Martin Perez here, having a good time with him. Xander, I want to go inside the mindset you had making that move back to shortstop, because I know when Kim first got hurt, looked like maybe he would come back, you'd stay at second base, then it appears he's going to be out for a longer amount of time. You go back to short. Can you take us a little bit inside what your mindset has been about that whole situation and move back to short?
The toughest part for me was my throwing. As a shortstop, I always want to throw above. I go to second now. I start feeling really comfortable down here. So now I'm losing some arm speed and just some arm carry on the ball. I never thought I would have got used to liking it down there, So that was the toughest part for me, just trying to get my arm back to being able to do that. That's why I probably wouldn't have done it if it was a little bit earlier, or right after Kimmy got hurt. But obviously, it's just trying to help the team, and I feel like, we feel like this is the best way probably with the lineup and stuff that we have the best chance of winning. So, yeah, as I said, I just didn't know I would have feel that natural, but then when you think of it and knowing that you played there since you were 9, it's pretty normal to feel that way.
Xander, you mentioned the lineup part of it. Obviously, Donovan Solano, David Peralta, they've meant a lot to this team in 2024. How do you assess what those two guys in particular have meant to this group, and why maybe it was important to get them in the lineup on most days?
Because those two guys have been having some really good seasons, some really good seasons, really clutch hits for us throughout the whole year, really quality at-bats, to be honest. Come off the bench, it's not easy, to come off the bench. I'm fortunate enough I didn't have to do that much in my career, but I know it's something tough, and they still put up good at-bats, so you lengthen out the lineup a little bit more having those guys, or either picking one of those guys that you want to put in the lineup that can start, and for me, it's just, I just got to work a little bit more on shortstop, I haven't for a while. As I said, it's been still a little natural to me, but it's still a long time I haven't played there. So and this is the big leagues.
Xander, a couple more things for you. Let's talk about your offense. You have the home run during the road trip as we come down the final stretch of the regular season. How are you feeling at the plate right now?
Better figure it out, I better start putting the ball in play, Nothing good can happen when you strike out, So I don't know, just trying to, I know we have some couple of days hopefully making the playoffs, so got some time to get right back on track. Obviously, you want to do it as soon as possible, but you understand this game for a long time, and you were hot for a minute, so you're kind of due to be a little cold. So just trying to work hard on turning that around and helping out the team down the stretch for sure.
Xander, finally, you've been in this position before with a team trying to get to the postseason. You can see the finish line. You guys are in a really nice spot. As cliche as this question may sound, what does it take now to, in the final 10 games of the season, finish the job, get hot at the right time, all the things you want to do this time of year?
I think that's the biggest part. Is going into the playoffs, rolling. I'm not saying you're winning 4 or 5 in a row, but playing good baseball, playing fundamentally good baseball, doing everything right, just playing really good, clean, obviously scoring runs and stuff like that. But I feel like the teams that go into the playoffs with some momentum, it's obviously huge. Sometimes you get teams that bench a couple guys, give them rest, and now we're losing. You go in with a 3-game losing streak. I mean, it feels a little different, to the experience that I've had, So I know we've been playing some really good baseball throughout the whole year, so I don't think we need to worry about that because our team has been really good this year.
Xander, as always, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for the conversation, and good luck today and throughout the final week and a half of the regular season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was Padres shortstop Xander Bogaerts earlier today. Very, very good conversation with Xander, and of course Xander back in the lineup for the Padres here today as we get ready for the rubber match of this 3-game series. First pitch coming up at 3:40 here in downtown San Diego as the Padres go for a series win against the Houston Astros. Really good starting pitching matchup today. Left-hander Framber Valdez on the mound for Houston and right-hander Dylan Cease on the mound for San Diego. Let's give you our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
Key number 1, stay a step ahead of Jose Altuve. Now that step may be barefoot. We saw Jose without his shoe on last night at one point, but the Padres have to limit him today. Barefoot or not, for a couple of reasons. Altuve is hitting .380 in his last 12 games with 6 extra base hits and 9 runs scored. He's also 5 for 11 with 2 home runs in his career against Dylan Cease. So keep an eye on that today. That matchup early in this game and throughout the game, Altuve against Cease. Key number 2, runners in scoring position. Through all the craziness of last night, there was one part of the box score that really told the story from the Padres' perspective, and that was the fact that the Padres went 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Remember, the Padres had 2 on in the first inning last night. They had 2 on in the second inning. They didn't score in either of those innings, and then they had the tying run on third base, nobody out in the 10th inning, and they couldn't get the run in. That was the difference yesterday, the execution by these teams in that one extra inning. Runners in scoring position here today, a big key. Padres got to be better in that category. Key number 3, keep this starting pitching rolling. San Diego's starting pitching has been really, really good as of late. You look at the last 7 games, going back to the start of that 5-game road trip in Seattle and San Francisco, last 7 games, Padres starters have posted a 1.35 ERA, 6 earned runs given up in 40 innings. And in fact, if you go back a little bit farther, Padres starting pitchers have posted a 2.52 ERA in their last 13 games since September 2nd with a 2.23 opponent batting average and 1.08 whip in that span. So, hey, when you have great starting pitching, you pitch the way the Padres have pitched as of late, it's typically going to mean a lot of really good things, and typically that leads to a lot of winning baseball. Padres need a big-time performance today from Dylan Cease against a really, really good left-hander in Framber Valdez. Padres need that great version of Cease today. We'll see if they can get it, and that's a look at our keys to the game. When we come back, we'll tell you what to watch for in today's game. Plus, we have an even deeper breakdown of our starting pitching matchup between Cease and Valdez. First pitch coming up at 3:40 from Petco Park. I'm Sam Levitt. You're listening to the Padres Radio Network. there, EcoWater SoCal. Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch. Coming up at 3:40, Framber Valdez on the mound for the Astros. Dylan Cease on the mound for San Diego. We'll talk much more about this pitching matchup coming up in just a moment. First, let's tell you what to watch for in this series finale.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game? Can the Padres continue to find the power here at Petco Park? Manny Machado's two-run home run in the sixth inning yesterday was the Padres' 102nd home run at home in 2024. That set a new club home run record at home. That beat the previous high of 101 home runs in this ballpark by the Padres in 2019. It should be no surprise that this team in particular has set that new club record here at home. And in fact, they'll probably crush that new record if they hit some more home runs here today and throughout the rest of this homestand. The Padres' .419 slugging percentage so far this season is the highest in a season so far in franchise history. So it's been a team that slugs a lot. We know they hit for average. So again, what I'm watching for today, can the Padres continue to hit the long ball here at Petco Park in this series finale against a really, really good starting pitcher in Framber Valdez and this Houston bullpen? That's what's watched for in today's game. Speaking of Valdez, let's break down our starting pitching matchup.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
Right-hander Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres here today. 28 years old. Cease so far this season, 13-11, a 3.58 ERA, 31 starts, 176 innings. He struck out 215, walked 62. He currently ranks third in the major leagues in strikeouts. He's only 4 behind the leader, Chris Sale. So a very good opportunity for Cease to take that major league lead in strikeouts here today. His last start, a good one. 6 scoreless innings against the Giants. It was a good bounce back for Dylan. He posted a 5.01 ERA in his previous 6 starts before that last one in San Francisco. Cease posted a 0.73 ERA in 2 starts against the Astros last season while pitching for the White Sox. He made his lone career postseason start in Game 3 of the 2021 ALDS against the Astros. He gave up 3 runs in 1 2/3 innings in that game. And the arsenal for Dylan Cease, the 4-seam fastball, the slider, throws those 2 pitches more than 85% of the time. Also will mix in the knuckle curve, sweeper, and a changeup. On the mound for the Houston Astros, left-hander Framber Valdez. The 30-year-old is 14-6, 2.91 ERA, 26 starts, 163 2/3 innings. He struck out 159, walked 51. Last start against the A's, he gave up 1 run in 6 innings and a third. Astros have won 13 of his last 14 starts. Valdez has a 2.10 ERA in that span. He's allowed 2 or fewer runs in 10 of those outings. In those last 14 starts, he's posted an opponent batting average of .080. He has been great as of late. Valdez faced the Padres twice in 2021, had a 4.50 ERA in 2 starts against them. Valdez gets a ton of ground balls. He has the highest ground ball percentage in baseball, according to Fangraphs. He throws a sinker 46% of the time, a curveball 32% of the time, a changeup, slider, and a 4-seamer. His curveball in particular is elite. Opponents are hitting just 109 against that curveball this season. So keep an eye on that today, that curve from Framber Valdez. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup. Dylan Cease for San Diego and Framber Valdez on the mound for Houston. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. When we come back, Jesse Agler, Bob Scanlon have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our postgame show. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.